Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. This is Coach Young. Today's date is Wednesday, December 13th. Today we're going to do a college basketball focus, and we're going to do two things, one with the men, one with the women. For the men, I'm going to look at, after we're 1 month into the season, what three teams have really played exceptionally well, while looking at three teams that have really underperformed to start the season. Second, fun topic. Talked to a bunch of friends at a women's basketball game. Came up with a great concept. Top 5 women's college basketball players of the last 25 years. Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. And let's get started in the men's game of college basketball, in which we've seen a lot of parity and a lot of topsy-turviness in regards to the rankings. But when you start looking at three teams specifically that have played exceptionally well to begin the college basketball season, you really got to think about Purdue, you got to think about Arizona, and you have to think about the Dukes of James Madison University. Yes, I said it, JMU, which has done a great job of moving out of the CAA to a higher league, mainly because of football. Their basketball team is balling too. And let's start right at the top with the Purdue Boilermakers. Now, folks, you guys, everybody knows this. Coach Young has never been a fan of Purdue. I mean, you've seen my social media stuff when I went after Purdue, after they got knocked out of the first round of the tournament. Purdue fans are coming after me. But I'm giving Purdue their roses, because Purdue has played exceptionally well so far to start the season, sitting at a record of 9-1. Yes, I know they had that rough loss at Northwestern, but hey, Northwestern's playing pretty good basketball too, so I can't really discount that loss or really give them a lot of grief for it. But when you look at the schedule that Purdue has played so far at the beginning of the season, beating Xavier by 12, beating Gonzaga by 10, beating Tennessee by 4, beating Marquette by 3, beating Iowa by 18, and then a really good 6-point win over Alabama, in which early on they were not playing well. And why is Purdue playing really well? I don't know. Maybe some 7'4" guy named Zach Edey, the reigning defending Naismith Player of the Year, the most dominant force in college basketball today. And Zach Edey, folks, has been absolutely fantastic. And that is obviously the biggest reason why Purdue is playing the way they are. Because what is it getting you? 24.8, 10.8 rebounds per game? I don't know, shooting an effective 63% from the floor. And as a coach, and one that coached big men, 76% from the foul line. So even when Zach Edey gets fouled, he's going to the foul line and he's knocking down free throws. So the way Zach Edey's been playing so far this year has been absolutely dominant. And if you look at some of the games that he's played against some of these big-time teams, folks, his stats have been absolutely fantastic. If you look at, some of the games he's played so far, the Alabama game over the weekend, 37 minutes, 35 points, 7 rebounds, 11 for 11 for the foul, and basically almost fouled out the whole Alabama front court. Alabama fans are crying and complaining, but hey, folks, a foul is a foul. You can look at his performance against Northwestern in a loss with 35-14. You can look at Marquette, 28-15. 23-10 versus Tennessee, 25-14 versus Gonzaga, 28-11 versus Xavier. So he's bringing it. If you think about the games, he really hasn't scored a lot. The only 3 games that he scored under 20 points, Texas Southern, Morehead State, Sam Houston State. I mean, so he's doing it when he's got to do it. So he's not padding his stats. In fact, his stats are going down when Zach is playing against lesser competition. So obviously the play of Zach Edey has been absolutely fantastic for Purdue, but you have to keep looking on the fact that I've always said with Purdue, it was the fact that they had to get a year older, particularly at the guard spot. And Braden Smith, as a 6-foot sophomore, is getting you 13.2, 7.2 assists per game, top 10 in the nation, and he was absolutely fantastic against Alabama with 27 points and 8 assists. And if you think about that Alabama game, folks, that thing turned in the second half, and Braden got absolutely cooking from 3, 4 out of 7 from three-point land. So obviously Braden Smith, as a sophomore, is giving you what you need at the point guard spot, but a point guard that can shoot the ball at 45.5% from three. So then you got to look at a guy like a Lance Jones that's giving you 10.6 points per game. You got to look at a guy like Lawyer giving you 10.2 points per game. Gillis, as the nails and glue guy, giving you 5.3, 3.4. So Purdue, led by Zach Edey, is playing phenomenal basketball. Now, I know it's going to come down to how they play in March. But when your offense is at the 90th percentile, and you're at 91st percentile in the half court, and you are, it don't matter, you man them 89th percentile, zone 91st percentile. These are all from synergy, folks. All these metrics I'm giving you. This team is so dynamic offensively. The key is going to be this. When they run their action, right, they do a lot of horn stuff, high screen, pin down, put Edey in the middle of the lane where you can't double him. He goes to the jump hook. If the refs call fouls and he doesn't get pushed off his spot, Zach Edey's an automatic 25 and 10 a night. That's going to be hard to stop. But if Smith, Jones, Lawyer, can they shoot and knock down shots and they continue to play well, Purdue will be in the hunt for a national championship. Let's move on to the number one team in the country in Arizona. And this is an Arizona team that has always been dynamic offensively. You thought Purdue was at great at 90 percentile. Well, Arizona at the 95th percentile offensively, 93rd percentile against man, 97th percentile against zone. So they are phenomenal offensively, and they do it differently than Purdue. Well, they hit you in waves. Caleb Love. Let's talk about him, folks, because Caleb Love, some people question some of the shots he took. What is that, North Carolina? Listen, he's never going to be a high shooting percentage guy. He's a volume guy. He needs volume to get his points. But Caleb Love's giving you 14.1 and giving you 4.5 assists per game. So if you think about his stats compared to the rest of his career, he's scoring less, but he's assisting more. And I think that's the big thing with Caleb Love. Now, if he can get his three-point shooting percentage up to about 36, 37%, which was his career high a couple of years ago, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. But there's more than that. How about Keshad Johnson giving you 12.6, 6.9? Another guy, fifth-year guy, experience, right? A guy that's gotten you double figures pretty much every game in, game out. Really a tough and rugged, athletic, 6'7" senior who also, might I add, may need to shoot the ball a little bit better from three. And then there's the big boy, Oumar Ballo. He only gives you 12.5 and 6.3. Right? Now, that's scoring down from last year. His rebounds are down this year. But he's shooting it still at 64% from the floor, or 68% from the floor, which is up. But the big thing with Oumar is 38.5% for the line. Brother, come on, man. Come on, man. We got you got brother, go in there and get some free throws in during practice. You know what? Don't even do it during practice. Pre-practice, post-practice, before dinner, after dinner, at night, in the morning, pre-game, post-game. Oumar, get to the foul line and knock down some free throws. Boswell's giving you 12.4. Larson's giving you 12.3. You know, they got a couple of guys giving you over 7. So you have a team that is really playing exceptional basketball in Arizona, and it's no reason why they are the number one team in the country with a schedule so far that, okay, they beat Duke. They won at Duke. Duke's not playing well. We'll get to them in a second. They beat Michigan State by 6. They're not playing well. We'll get to them in a second. But they also have a 25-point win versus Wisconsin. And we'll see on Saturday when Purdue and Arizona meet. That is going to be outstanding. But think about this, folks. We'll know more about Arizona. Next 3 games, Purdue, Alabama, Florida Atlantic. By the end of this calendar year, we will continue to talk about if the Arizona Wildcats are for real. And I think they are. But let's go to a team off the beaten path that's playing absolutely fantastic. How about the Dukes of James Madison University in Harrisonburg, Virginia? Don't know how to get there? Put in ways. It'll help you get there. But they came off opening night with a win at Michigan State by 3. I know. But they beat Kent State in 2 overtimes. They had a really good win over a sneaky good Radford team by 3. and they have played exceptionally well. And I'm going to say this, folks. You're not going to have many times to look at the rest of the schedule, ready for this, and tell me when are they going to be underdogs. So this team is sitting at undefeated at 9-0 in the Sun Belt Conference. We could be talking later in the year if this team could be undefeated through the regular season. Now, I probably just jinxed them, and they're going to probably lose their next game. But this team is absolutely fantastic. Another team that just hits you in waves. Terrence Edwards getting you 17.9 points per game, 42% from three, 80.5% from the foul line. And think about just the sum of the parts of this team, right? Bickerstaff, a load, an absolute load. TJ Bickerstaff at 6'9". This brother's shooting 67% from the floor. Now he's shooting 54 for the line, so TJ, bro, you and Omar Barlow got to go hang out and work on your free throw game. But you got him shooting 67%, Green shooting 47%, Friedel shooting 44%, Wooden shooting 47%. Like, are you kidding me? And you got three guys from three that are getting you at 42.4% from three or better? That is why James Madison's been absolutely dynamic with the 94th percentile offensive points per possession. They are 92nd percentile against man, 88th percentile against zone. And then you start looking at the shots they make. Oh, I'm sorry. Catch and shoot, 85th percentile. You guard them, don't matter. 91st percentile. Pull-up jumpers, 91st percentile. And they're in the 91st percentile in three-point attempts. That is absolutely absurd at 1.15 points per shot. And if you think about that, folks, when you have your three of your top four scorers shooting at least 42.4% from three, that is going to be something to watch out. So look out for the Dukes of James Madison to see if they can continue their success. While we have the teams we love, we got to go to the teams that are not playing well. And let's start at the top with the Duke Blue Devils. A Duke Blue Devil team that people had, I think, number 2 in the polls. People thought that they were going to be a national championship contender. Well, obviously, Colin Filipowski's done what he's got to do at 18.4 points per game, 9.2 rebounds per game. Roach is doing what he's got to do at 14.8. Mitchell's playing well. So you start looking around, you're like, well, you look at some of the stats of their top players, and you're saying to yourself, what's going on? Well, folks, anytime they've played on the road, it's been a problem. Folks, do you know how many games Dukes play on the road? Do you know? The answer is 2. You know how many wins they have in those 2 games? None. They've lost at home to Arizona, which is nothing. Which is obviously at that time Arizona was number 12 in the country. You can't knock them for that. But they lost at Arkansas and they lost at Georgia Tech. Shout out to Damon Stoudemire doing a good job over there at obviously Georgia Tech. So when you start looking at Duke, what's going on? Well, their offense has been absolutely fantastic. John Shire's got a great group of guys here, but defensively, 54 percentile. That's not good enough. That's not Duke basketball. As much as people talk about how great Duke has been offensively, Coach K always preached defense. They don't score in transition, right? Their out-of-bounds performance plays are really poor. They're managed, so defensively, they are not great at special situations. At last 4 seconds of a shot clock, 20th percentile. So they're not getting stops at the end of shot clock, right? They can't press teams. They're at 20 percentile, so they can't play from behind. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Duke, but it's got to be more than the play of Filipowski and Roach. They got to get better production out of some of their guys, and particularly they have to do a better job of rebounding. Only one guy in Filipowski getting more than 4.9 rebounds per game. We'll see how Duke looks in the ACC. Remember, folks, they got to go to Baylor next week and then Queens University before they start the bulk of their ACC play. Let's move on to the biggest disappointment in basketball in Michigan State. I came on, I thought that Michigan State was going to be a Final Four team because I've always believed in the greatness of Tom Izzo. But you got to start to question what's going on in East Lansing. Think about the loss opening night was a stunner to James Madison. Losing by 9 to Duke. You said, okay, all right, they're getting better. But to me, not even a loss to Arizona by 6. That's fine. It's the last 2 losses by 13 to Wisconsin, and really the 77-70 loss at Nebraska. Well, what is the problem with this team? Lord have mercy. They struggle against man-to-man in the 28th percentile. They can't score. And they have had, folks, some, I would dare say, horrific shooting nights and numbers from 3. Now, you're going to start looking and saying, well, obviously, Walker's playing great, getting you 20.3 points per game, but he's only shooting 33.3% from 3. Well, is that a problem? Yes, considering that last year he shot 41.5, and the year before that, 47.3. AJ Hoggard, getting you 10.3 points per game. Well, you're like, oh, well, that's not bad. Well, he's shooting at a 25% from 3 as opposed to 32.9% from 3. Let's move on. You got to look at a guy like a Malik Hall, who I've been a big fan of, but I just never seen Malik take that step where I think he's got to be. 10.3 points per game. Yeah, it's career high. I think he's better than that. What's Malik Hall shooting? 20% from 3. Do you want me to keep going with these stats, or are we kind of getting what's going on? And a kid like Akins, 9.7 points per game, 42% from 3 last year, 29.7. So Michigan State is basically in the 12th percentile in dribble pull-up jumpers. They're in 29th percentile catch and shoot, and then the 17th percentile and 3-pointers. They got to knock down shots. If they can knock down shots from 3, Izzo will find a way. I know it doesn't look good right now, Michigan State fans, but I still trust Tom Izzo to fix it. But the one thing a coach can't do, folks, he can't put the ball in the basket for you. Those kids got to knock down shots. And let's end with Villanova, a team that I have really gone after Kyle Neptune for their performance. Why, folks? They spent $2 million in NIL money. And they brought in Burton. And they brought in Bamba. And they brought in Hart. They brought in all these guys to come in and really turn around Villanova. Well, they're getting the performances they need out of Eric Dixon. Now, his shooting percentages are a little bit down, but he's still giving you 13.6 and 7 rebounds per game. Justin Moore has not been Justin Moore has not been the same since the Achilles injury. And I thought he was going to be better this year. Only 13.3 points per game. And the concerning part about Justin Moore is he's got a career low shooting percentage from the floor and a career shooting percentage low from 3. Now, he's getting you 96% from the line, and he's only giving you 2.2 assists. So Justin Moore is still not playing the Justin Moore that we saw before he tore his Achilles in that game versus Houston. And I really think that Villanova maybe could have won the national championship. Tyler Burton, it's been up and down with Tyler. Starting to play a little bit better with 18 points in the last game versus UCLA. But Tyler's giving you 9.8 points per game. Guys, this was a 19-point per game score at University of Richmond. Tyler can score. He's going to get better. So where am I going with this? Obviously, really quick, TJ Bamba, really good kid out of Washington State, getting you only 9.1. Hakeem Hart, transfer, 6.5. What is it? Is it the fit? Is it the system? Is it they can't get the play together? Is it Coach Neptune? I don't know. But Villanova has been a problem all year, and they have to fix it. And they have to get better play out of Moore and the transfers. Dixon has been Dixon. He's been pretty good. They've been getting good play at times out of Malik Armstrong. Longino is giving him pretty good minutes at getting him at 9.5 points per game, up from 5 points per game last year. So it's got to be the play of the transfers and Justin Moore. Let's end today's podcast with a really fun subject for me, which is the top 25 women's basketball players in the history of college basketball last 25 years, right? So I sent this out to a bunch of my friends, and I'm not going to name them, but shout out to all my friends in college basketball, NAAU circuit, and USA basketball that got back to me when I asked them who were their top 5 women's basketball players of all time. So I want to make sure you understand, in the last 25 years, I want you to understand this. Winning does matter in this category. Winning does. Now, if you don't win a championship, that doesn't mean you can't get in the top 5, but it does hurt you. Let's start off with my honorable mention because it was really hard for me to get the 5. So my honorable mention is this: Sue Bird, the great point guard out of UConn who had just finished her WNBA career before last season. Kelsey Plum out of Washington, the star guard for the Las Vegas Aces, 2-time WNBA champion. How can I forget the run that Brittany Griner did at Baylor, taking them to a national championship in her junior year? How about Sabrina, my buddy Sabrina Ionescu, and the play that she did over at Oregon for my buddy Kelly Graves, and her stats and what she's done for the New York Liberty. And last in my top 5, and this is going to be interesting, folks, because when I sent it out, when SportsGrid got it out to the public, 43% of you said this lady, Caitlin Clark, did not make my top 5. The reason being is I needed to see her get all the way and win a national championship. And her stats have been absolutely fantastic. And she's done, if you think about who has meant the most to the women's college basketball game in the last 25 years, you could argue it could be Caitlin Clark because of the popularity of the sport in the last 12 months. But I can't put Caitlin Clark there yet. If she wins a natty, then we could talk. So let's go to my top 5 players of the last 25 years, starting with the number 5 player on my board. And this is something that was really tough for me, and that's A'ja Wilson. Because it was between A'ja and obviously Caitlin Clark. But I can't mistake what A'ja Wilson has done as a national championship, 3-time SEC Player of the Year, 1-time Nation Award winner, and really is the player that kind of got Dawn Staley over the hump and got South Carolina to a national championship. And you've obviously seen what A'ja Wilson has done for her career so far for the Las Vegas Aces. Let's go on to number 4, and Maya Moore. Now, Maya could be considered to be higher. You can really you can easily argue any of these top 5, let's be honest. But Maya Moore at 19.7 points per game, 8.3 rebounds per game, 2-time Naismith Award winner, 2-time national champion of the UConn Huskies, and would have been, ready folks, one of the greatest WNBA players in history if she would have kept playing. And we know what the good deed that she has done with prisoner reform and her relationship and what she's done in that. And shout out to Maya Moore, who's been absolutely fantastic. I've been a big fan of Maya Moore's game. And I'll tell you right now, if she went back in the WBA right now, she'd still give y'all buckets at 20 points a game. Let's go on to number 3, Candice Parker. Candice at 19.4 points per game over her career, 8.8 rebounds, 54% from the floor, 2-time champion, 1-time Naismith Award winner. And with Candice, she was the last great player for the late Pat Summitt, who one day, folks, I think it's going to be a good idea. I was talking to Joe Montano, my mentor, the great high school basketball coach at Red Bank Catholic High School, and kind of like my big brother. And Joe gave me the top 5 coaches. So I think I'm going to do a top 5 coaches next, or in a couple of weeks. Top 5 women's basketball coaches of all time. We'll do one for the men as well. But Candice Parker, fantastic career, continuing to excel on the court. She got an injury last year with the Las Vegas Aces. She should be back. Number 2, some could argue the GOAT, but she's number 2, and that's Diana Taurasi. Diana Taurasi, 16.2 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, 3-time national champion, and 2-time Naismith Award winner. Diana Taurasi with Sue Bird. Folks, That may be the greatest backcourt in the history of basketball. But forget college. Forget men's or women's. I mean, Bird and Taurasi. I mean, Lord have mercy. Try stopping them. They got 3 national championships, 2 Naismith Award winners, award-winning awards for her. And lastly, my number 1, Breanna Stewart, a.k.a. Stewie. Why? 17.8, 7.8, 2.7 assists per game, 58% from the floor, 35.5% from 3, 4-time national champion, 3-time Naismith Award winner, and I do believe, am I correct? She won the most outstanding player in the Final Four all 4 years. So she put up the stats, she delivered in the clutch. The stretch 4 that Breanna Stewart has done and what she has done for that UConn program, she now obviously plays back, I wouldn't say back home. Stewie's from upstate New York, played her AAU ball with the Philadelphia Bells. Shout out to my buddy Kevin Lynch, who kind of was one of the people that gave me the idea for this podcast. But Breanna Stewart, number 1, Taurasi, number 2, Candice Parker, 3, and then obviously we go with Maya Moore, 4, Asia Wilson, 5. That is my top 5, and this has been the Betting Above the Rim podcast for December the 13th. It's always a pleasure for you to watch, but here's a great way to watch. How about the SportsGrid app, folks? How about downloading that today on iOS and on Android to get all your information when it comes to the world of sports gambling? Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, plays from the best in the business. You know, I'm not even naming everybody this week because I name them every time. They know who they are. You know who they are. And if you don't know who they are, you should be on that app. Next podcast will air next Monday to be released on Tuesday. We'll get into a couple of things, including with UConn. Why aren't they playing well, Gino Auriemma's team? And we'll look at the Defensive Player of the Year award right now. This has been the Betting Rhythm Podcast. Once again, this is Coach Young. Always remember, folks, it's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Take care.